This week on Great Chat, we explore the limits of going direct. Maybe building in public isn't so great after all. I'm Ashley, and this week I'm joined by Angela and Helen. Great Chat is brought to you by Mercury, the fintech used by entrepreneurs through every stage of company building. We use Mercury to run this podcast and love recommending it to other founders and fund managers. Try it for yourself. Visit Mercury.com to join over 200,000 entrepreneurs who use Mercury to make managing their money unbelievably simple.
Hi.
Hey everyone.
Hi.
A lot has happened in the past week. Like too much.
I think too much has happened if you're very online.
That's true. That's true.
As
if you're
evidenced
very
by...
offline, probably nothing has happened. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, like if it's not on Twitter, is it even real? No, if it's offline, we were just going over like what happened to what happened in the world of normal people. And
two things, right? Government shutdown and Kris Jenner's 70th birthday party.
Exactly.
Yes, the non-tech Twitter.
Ashley, I only saw that photo of her with the gloves, and it was a comment about how she never shows her hands because I think you really show age with hands in a way that you can't mask.
And hands.
Yeah. Neck and hands. Yes.
She was not wearing a turtleneck dress, so she let the neck ride. I hated the gloves. I mean, the dress was great, but the black gloves, just like, I thought was she like giving a magic show or something?
Maybe.
Who was looking at
Maybe.
the
Angela,
gloves?
were you there?
No, I was just focused on her face. I mean, she looks amazing, and it gives everyone hope that you can get amazing work done in the U.S. You don't have to move to Korea for 3 months to get this done. You can just stay stateside.
Oh my goodness.
We're bringing the important. We're reshoring the important skills here in the U.S., which include plastic surgery. There was a tech crossover though, because Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan were at her birthday as well, and it was hosted at Jeff Bezos's residence. So there's some crossover for the tech crowd.
Oh, I didn't realize it was at Jeff's house. That's so random. I guess they were at his wedding. He's hosting the birthday. I was really thinking like, man, the Kardashians have had so much more staying power than I would have imagined like a couple decades ago when the whole thing was like, oh, these people are famous for being famous, and they have shown real longevity, and I'm impressed.
Okay, what was a tech headline? Yeah, so I think
there were a lot
my
of
comment
tech
about
headlines.
Because me texting you guys, filling you in on like the 9-part monogamy-ish guy.
What corner of Twitter was that? Because
I don't know.
Angela, it was my entire feed. I don't know what the algorithm.
Okay, good. Thank you. I wasn't the only one because you didn't chime in, and everyone's like, "What?" I'm like, "I can give it. Never mind."
Maybe we can give like a really quick TLDR. There was this guy who declared that, he's been looking for a spouse, and if he can't find one, he's going to have babies on his own, obviously via surrogate, and he really wants to be a dad. And as a lot of Twitter moments go, like at first it was like super positive.
Yeah, the arc.
Like, oh, like this is amazing.
Yeah, Ashley, very important detail. His Twitter bio is aspiring wife guy.
Yeah, it actually was wife guy, and then someone was like, "This is confusing." If you're trying to find a name,
then you put
we
aspiring.
Added the aspiring. I'm telling you, I've gone way too deep on this.
Also, just a weird thing to put in Twitter. Like it's like that. It's just like an interesting message to put out there,
Oh no, this is his whole personality.
That's fine. I thought that was fine.
Angela, the thing to know is this is like his mission in life. Like I guess he's not really working because he has a company that
No, he's a venture-backed founder. Obviously, this was going that direction, yeah.
He doesn't have to work for money. He has a lot of time. He lives in Massachusetts near his family. And, like, all he wants is to get married and have babies. And he has this, like, Date Me doc, which I think is a newer trend. I was dating before even, like, mobile dating apps. So I don't really know. But it basically is this, like, Notion doc with like everything about him. And he sounded like kind of a catch, despite maybe being a little bit on the desperate side.
6'4", 6'4".
Wait, what? Okay, but can we just take up like how is it possible that he is not like I just don't believe that
Well,
like
no,
he
but
can't
Angela's
find a
about
about
to
to
wife?
reveal
go.
that.
In like Twitter back and forth, it comes out that he's not exactly monogamous. And what he would like is to have a wife and kids, but also be able to have sex with other people. And so that was not in his doc anywhere. Like the internet's losing its mind. It's like, of course you can't
Yeah.
find anyone.
I think specifically Twitter did what it did, which they're like combing through his tweets from like 2017, like.
No, he was like, these were like live replies.
Yeah. There's plenty of like very recent
Yeah.
material, but then like they were finding stuff from all years.
So guys, he updated his doc. There are now some bullets on how together he and his future spouse are going to figure out what feels great to them for an open relationship. And he went private on Twitter. So that is the end of the story.
But it's like it was like the classic like build up and then crash, and just the time period in which this happens. Traditional news doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even cover that? Like, by the time this podcast airs, there will be.
Is there going to be a redemption arc though? Like this.
Great question, Angela. Great question.
The hero's journey, the build up, the takedown. Like we need the redemption.
He'll be married. He'll be married by the time this podcast comes out, and we will all have been wrong. You can have your cake and eat it too.
I just want to point out that this is the second time this year that a Boston-based founder CEO has made headlines where everyone's like, what does this company do?
Astronomer and this guy.
Yeah, both times I'm like, wait, what? Oh, that's what the company does? Okay.
I'm definitely not going to invest in any Boston-based companies. It's too risky. Unforced.
It's a great tech hub.
Errors. But to your point around like the craziness of news cycles and following something like, I mean, this isn't even news. It's just like, I felt the same way about the Pope and Mark Andreessen and
Pope Twitter.
The Sydney Sweeney meme.
Wait, I missed all of this. Can I saw the notes in the chat about the Mark Pope tweet, but like what happened and what was the tweet?
So there was this interview. I forgot what the publication was. Was it GQ?
I think Vanity Fair.
Vanity Fair. It was some magazine, and it was this woman, and she was interviewing Sydney Sweeney, and I think she sort of egged her on a little bit about like asking her to defend sort of the defense of the American Eagle like good genes campaign, and. I think Sydney Sweeney just didn't take the bait. I think people are actually if you actually watch the clip, they're over glorifying how like excellent she was of a comms professional of not taking the bait. I think
I don't think anyone thought she was excellent. She just kind of seemed like a petulant teenager.
There were a lot of people who were like 10 out of 10, no notes. And I'm like, no, she just seems frozen. She seems really freaked out. Like, anyways. So there are a lot of screenshots of Sydney Sweeney doing like this, like, ice face and not giving it to the interviewer, who's sort of giving this kind of like patronizing, eyebrow raising look that Mark Andreessen screenshotted, right?
She was kind of like, I want to give you a chance. Like, I feel like you really deserve.
It was super patronizing.
Yeah, very inauthentic. Yeah. And so it was kind of like the perfect juxtaposition of, especially at this like anti-media time, of this like journalist being very patronizing, being very condescending, and Sydney just like looking at her like a bored teenager. And this meme became a big thing before Mark used it. So it was like all over my feed, and people were having a lot of fun with it, with like the journalist face juxtaposed with like Sydney Sweeney's face.
It's been a while since we had a good like new meme. Anyways, the Pope tweeted something, and this is a tweeting Pope.
Oh, I saw that. That was like ethical AI and we should think about humans. And
yeah, I thought it was a great tweet. I was thrilled to see it.
But Mark Andreessen retweeted it with the screenshot of the woman's face that was like sort of like, the eyebrow raising, sort of like patronizing thing. And I think a bunch of people like, meme accounts like Growing Daniel were like, don't mock the Pope, and then he deleted it. And so I think people then read into that as this like, oh, there's a line,
Well, the funny thing is, it's hard to say what the bigger sin was. Mark Andreessen mocking the Pope or Mark Andreessen getting the meme wrong.
He got the meme
Yes.
wrong. What
He
happened?
got the meme wrong, and it's like, and I think it was like I honestly, my feed was going to town on both. And then yes, you also got like Growing Daniel. He was defending the Pope, but then other people were critiquing the meme, and it was just like this, such an online moment. It sounds insane to even try to talk about it.
So what was the right way of using the meme and what was the wrong way of using the meme? Like what did he do and what should he have done?
So he probably should have used the Sydney Sweeney face. Like the Pope is like, oh, you should be ethical in your use of AI and try to make the world a better place. And probably the right use would be to have like the sort of petulant, like eye rolling Sydney Sweeney face. But instead he had the ingratiating journalist face, which like didn't quite work, although some people were trying to stretch and make that fit. So anyways, I mean, I empathize. I'm like terrified of using memes wrong, so I only do it after 100%. I'm sure I like fully
100%.
understand.
I'm terrified as well.
Did he actually do it, or is there some poor intern that's now fired for using the wrong face for the meme? Like,
oh, it was definitely Mark. I don't think an intern is like quote tweeting the Pope with a meme designed to mock him. Like,
but then there was this sidebar where people are pointing out that the reason why Mark had a reaction to that at all is that, A16Z is only funding like vices and things that are net negative for society. And so it was sort of the first time I'd ever really seen like a little bump of criticism, I think, around a lot of the hype of, A16Z in its mega fund era.
have we found finally the edges of founder mode? Like we thought
Yeah, exactly.
espionage
So I
was
always
it, but
pay
now
attention to these
it's like criticizing the Pope.
I think I actually turned to my husband and I was like, oh, turns out one of the edges is mocking the Pope.
we found another edge, by the way, guys, and I tried to make a joke, and then I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna sit this out and not bait the billionaires. But Mark Benioff, another Mark with a C, stepped in it as well when he called for the National Guard to come to San Francisco. And so I
no
feel
one
like
wanted that.
everyone feels like a little bit too safe and risk on, and it turns out there are still some hard lines. And the Marks are finding those lines for us. So thank you.
Don't mock the Pope. Don't call in the National Guard.
And
Yeah,
if you're
so
Mark
far, those are
with a C,
only
be very
boundaries.
careful about what you tweet.
Yeah.
Mark my words. That was like my pun I
That's-
wanted to use in my tweet. And I was like,
Got it.
oh, anytime you are going to tweet something and you're like, I hope this doesn't get engagement, you should just not tweet it. So that was my journey there.
I only follow robotics companies, so my entire feed is just like robotics. There was some like good robotics beef on Twitter as well, but I'm missing.
What was the robotics beef?
There was this company in China that had a humanoid robot that like had the figure of a female, like just like a female anatomy, and it was so lifelike that people were convinced it was like a human that was wearing just the outer, skin of the robot. So the founder actually cut open the robot to show people.
Oh, God.
This was a robot and not a human. It was getting very Westworld, very.
Yeah. Meanwhile, on robotics Twitter.
This reminds me of the most like disturbing TikTok and Reels trend I've seen lately, which is people baking these elaborate cakes that look like they're pets. So like a cake that looks a lot like a cat or a cake that looks a lot like a dog. And then having the cat or dog watch as they cut into it. And the animals freak out.
Yeah,
And like some of them
why?
like bat the knife away or attack the
Who
human.
wouldn't?
And I was
Who wouldn't
like,
freak out?
it's like torture. All of those.
Wait, this is on your
like,
Instagram Reels?
Yes, I think like
Okay, I
Instagram
just sent
knows that
Angela
I, like,
yesterday the thing that is all over my Instagram Reels, which is these couples, usually Asian couple, where a woman does her makeup and hair on her significant other
Oh.
and then does a reveal and they fucking look like twins. It's so fucking, that's my Reels. That's what I get. and that's what you get.
Mine is like, hey, you like animals and cake, and here's the most twisted mashup of those categories.
This shit's twisted too. I'll send it to you. I don't mean to just send it to Angela.
Please send it to me.
My last moment of pop culture, some of my friends were in China for some offsites. And I mean, this was the summer of Labubu.
Which are over now, right?
Well, now there's like these extra large Labubus that are like, you know.
Oh, God.
Zamumus, I think are what they're called. But it's like, you know, a few $100s and like very, very rare. They're kind of like Birkins. Like the guidance is if you see one.
Sally for sure already has one.
PSA, if you're in Asia and you see a Zamumu, like, buy it.
Damn. Okay.
It's like the Beanie Baby craze, except it doesn't go on long enough for you to amass wealth.
Oh my gosh, what a perfect metaphor for where we're at right now. Like these flash in the pan sort of like, you know, hype moments, and then doesn't go on long enough for anyone to amass wealth.
Okay, so back to our good friends, Mark Andreessen and maybe Mark Benioff, finding some of the boundaries. I think, Helen, it was you in the group chat. It was like, I feel like the vibes have shifted. And one of the other proof points was Cluely, which we've talked about before and is the brash, you know, cheat on everything app. Which recently pivoted to an enterprise AI note taker, but the founders started talking about the challenges of like building distribution ahead of product and product market fit. Same thing with Roelof being so public and on stage ahead of the Sequoia leadership transition. So all of these things are kind of adding up to, is there a limit to building in public, going direct, this sort of mania that we've been in with everyone telling their stories as loudly as possible, because I think we're starting to see some of the downsides or backlashes to that. And so maybe it'd be fun to chat a little bit about, is this a shift? Is this a blip? What's happening?
Ashley, you and I got that question, right, at TechCrunch Disrupt, which was like, have we reached the peak? Are we at the top? And I think you and I had different answers for it. But I think one of the things to look for on whether things are shifting, like the tides are turning or we're swinging the other way, is like a really successful company that was building in private emerges, or a really successfully, you know, building in public company turns out to be, you know, very unsuccessful. And like what would have made them more, because they did not pay attention to like fundamentals of like a good product that people love and, you know, retentive customers, all those things. And so I think we started to see some of those pieces last week. And then that got me wondering, like, yes, had Roelof Botha not done that podcast, right? Like, would there have been such a stark contrast, or would there have been would there have been as much chatter about him being caught off guard with the sort of leadership change, right? And it's like, I think before, when leaders were measured and there were many more layers between them and going direct, right? There's like there are many comms people, and there's a reporter, and there's an editor at the publication, et cetera, et cetera. It's sort of like safeguards for this particular situation. Because, I mean, the other thing that happened last week was Sam Altman did that podcast, right, with Brad. And people were really dissecting all of his body language and, you know, some of the things that he said. And, you know, I think that was we talked about this with Yoni last week, where like people were starting to critique like maybe the ways that he doesn't answer super truthfully, right? And then there's this narrative of him not always like lying casually, and then they were using the clips from the podcast to support that. And you know, so the question was like, would he have just been better off not doing the podcast, right? Like, again, like, are we starting to see the cracks and the limitations of going direct and being so accessible, right, to your audience all the time?
I mean, I think we are starting to see some of the cracks, and it's probably really helpful for like founders or, you know, VCs, like people who are paying attention and wondering what they should do to like see some of these boundaries. My hunch is that this is more of a blip than a shift. especially when it comes to, I don't think things are going to be any less noisy. But I think we've been kind of in like a sloppy era of like go direct, build in public, founder mode. Everyone's risk on. I also think like a lot of the antics that have gotten attention over the past 6 months are starting to feel a little old anyways. And so I think we're just maybe entering, like we're going to raise the bar for what is successful when it comes to building in public or when it comes to going direct or telling your story. Like
a tighter, more like, a little bit less sloppy, but still very direct. This is like staged candids. Like if you've ever done a photo shoot, it's like staged candids, like authentic, but like, haha, pretend like you're having
honestly,
fun.
I am the worst at staged candids. Like my wedding photos, like the ones that are good are where I'm just like smiling and looking at the camera.
We're in the staged candids era.
I love this because have you seen those insane TikToks of how Gen Z takes staged candids? They're like literally like moving like psychotically.
The shuffling feet.
We're in the shuffling feet.
And then the photo looks amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great.
As an observer of the space, it feels like things crescendo and decrease. Like I think a few months ago during the summer when it was like the AI talent wars, it just felt like things had gone totally insane with, Mark and everyone out there talking about it. But even for him, I felt like he was very out there talking about Meta. And then it's kind of been silenced for a while and they've been focused on building their business. So it feels like founders are trying to use it where it benefits them, but then also back away from it. And I don't know if that's sustainable or not.
That's really interesting. And I wonder how much of that is like the whiplash that comes from being like, I mean, you have to know what game you're playing, especially if you're good at it. Like, because as Mark Andreessen's very good at internet. But like he made a misstep and now he's deleted all those tweets. And there are definitely like drawbacks to being super public and for being a little bit riskier with how you show up online. And so you have to have the appetite for that if you really want to make this core to your strategy. My hope, and I don't know how realistic this is, but I feel like a lot of the go direct energy has been very self-promotional and hypey, which honestly is only interesting to like those teams and their cap tables. And I just think we're missing out on like more interesting conversations and points of view. And I was thinking back to, if you had asked me 2 years ago, who was emblematic of like going direct or building in public, it was Ryan Peterson at Flexport. And he wasn't like hyping Flexport and like making a video about the latest fundraise. He was talking about supply chain disruption and was like driving the entire conversation on that and making Flexport's brand synonymous with this category. And I don't think anyone's doing that right now. It's more like,
I think Ryan Peterson and Aaron Levy, similar.
Yeah.
Roughly, they stay in this like pretty narrow lane, but they're human and authentic and they'll bring in parts of their life. That's like, to me, like one flavor of going direct. And now we're in this like other.
Yeah, and this is where I'm saying like the current era has felt like a little sloppy, a little promotional, and that's fine. And I don't even, I think it's great to experiment. I just think in order for that to continue to get attention, people are going to have to raise the bar on the quality of their storytelling. And that doesn't mean you have to do the Ryan Peterson or Aaron Levy playbook. It just means like you might need to have more to say than like how fast you've grown or the valuation of your latest fundraise.
It's hard not to think about this and using that contrast and not think about age and life experience. Because I think that Aaron Levy and Ryan Peterson are like experts and they're now seasoned CEOs, seasoned executives in their respective businesses. Whereas a lot of what we've been seeing recently are like younger founders and younger VCs that have like maybe less to draw from. So it's like the splashiness of it all.
I think we're all creatures of the cultural context we exist in, right? And so like I fully believe that at any age you can have like a big vision or a big point of view that sort of supersedes your product and your company, but that's just not the vibe right now. And so I think the question is, will there be sort of a shift and will we see like a sort of a different playbook emerge. And I'm, not because it should, but just because the shtick gets old. I even saw I love it. Like Twitter is so fast to call a vibe shift. And someone the other day was like, now business fundamentals are back, like revenue and profitability. And
it's like Michael from WorkOS.
Yeah. And I'm not even like saying that's not true. It's like those never went away. And also just because like Mark Andreessen got the Pope tweet wrong, like meme wrong, doesn't mean that suddenly like the way VCs are evaluated. Anyways, we're very fast to be like everything's changed because of the online discourse, or because Cluely is having a hard time hitting its numbers. So anyways, so we'll see. But I think.
But how much of this is like? Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about Angela and this like thing that I always think about as when late stage or growth stage investors make bets, like, yes, there's a vibes element to it, but there's also like a data room with 30 docs that they're like combing through and analyzing and putting up against benchmarks of their own. Whereas earlier stage, it is so much about vibes. And so I think we've just been this like in this vibes era, and maybe like these later stage investors have just been looking at this phenomenon like, what the fuck is that anyways, right? And so maybe not so much, maybe things are not actually changing that much. And this was just almost like a weird blip that early stage investing, because it's more art than science, was just going to be subject to. And well, we're seeing the boundaries of that.
I think you're right. And I think also so much of this is just about how hard it is to see around corners right now, right? So it's not surprising that like vibes are beating vision, personalities beating brand, momentum's beating direction. Like the future feels a little fuzzy. It's a little nonlinear. And so clarity of vision and story and point of view are maybe harder to come by, but like telling a story around like momentum and leaning into founder persona, those are things that are more accessible. And so I wonder how much of this is a reflection of just this like particular platform shift and how hard. I mean, we were sharing some tweets in the debate of like, should anyone even invest at the application layer because the foundation models are going to eat that whole part of the stack, right? Like that is a very real ongoing debate that, founders, investors, everyone in the ecosystem is having. And so if that is an open question, I think it's just reflective of how hard it is collectively to sort of agree on what the future might look like. And in the absence of that, what we have left are vibes.
When I left Facebook, so I was at Facebook for 5.5 years. And when I left, I remember having this moment where I looked at my Facebook activity and I was like, oh God, just really horrified. I mean, as employees, you are encouraged to just be sharing nonstop all day. Like I would take a photo of my lunch, from the cafeteria and make some joke. I would be like everything. And then I just went like dark for a year and I felt this sense of just like regret and shame, but also I'm not going to go through and delete every single post. Right. And so I remember that feeling so vividly that I think I'm very careful right now. I'm in my like, investor era of not being so online. Cause like maybe when I'm, at my 70th birthday looking snatched with my new face or whatever, I'm going to like not want this, trail of tweets basically.
I feel like I'm the opposite, Helen. I'm like embracing the cringe.
Well, you have an audience that just, they're dying to see the content. Like that's not me. But like I think the other part is I have like a blog and I try to have real like crazy high standards for every piece. I want it to be evergreen and for it to be something 10 years from now, for it to be relevant and resonant. And so I use like Twitter almost as like a testing ground for like does this resonate? Is this something, where it's like, then that's all sort of feeding into like what I would do on the blog. And so that was one way where, because I often ask myself, and I get this question all the time, it's like, should I be doing more? What is the right thing? Everybody's very online and sharing all the time. Like, I feel guilty that I'm a venture-backed founder and like that I'm not doing that. Do my employees want me to do that? All these questions. So the should questions that we get all the time. And the shoulds change, and I'm just a big fan of like doing what's right for you, and whether that's what feels right, like what's honestly the right way to prioritize your activity and your time and your energy. And so my thing, like I've been trying to like be less online, which is not evident by this weekend's sort of catch up on this monogamy-ish guy. But I'm just like, I do a couple days on and then a couple days off, or like I'll send something and then I won't check Twitter for like a day or two so that I won't check the engagement with the post or whatever. And so I'm like trying different stuff out, but I don't really know.
This makes me think that we should develop an AI agent that it's like your internal IR comms person. Each person should just have their own agent.
Oh, that's great.
Reviews their tweets, tells them the engagement, like sort of, you need to back off, you need to lean in, like this is where you should tweet about. Like that's what.
Okay, but mine is Claude. I use Claude for that.
Okay, well, my problem is ChatGPT thinks everything I suggest is brilliant, and sometimes I'm like, ChatGPT. No, it's not. It's definitely
just
not.
Accept it. Just accept the roses, Ashley. Everything you say is gold.
No, this is not that my stuff is. This is right now our models are a little sycophantic, or at least ChatGPT still is. So
that's why we need to create the agent. This is the first product for great chat enterprises.
We should train it on like super skeptical, cynical people. I used to think I could do this as a service, like, pay me $100 and I'll tell you
the cringe meter
is gonna cringe, or like, oh, you're about to step in it, and just because I could do that all day. I could do like 100 of those a day just on my breaks. Anyways, but Helen, I think you're right. This is why it's so fun to be an emerging manager who's also working closely with founders on this stuff, because you have deep empathy, right? Like you're figuring it out for yourself. And then you also have the benefit of looking across the portfolio and seeing, like how visible you are is not like tied to how successible you are.
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
Right. I have like examples of companies in my portfolio. Yeah. I mean, it's not indicative at all. And so, but I mean, the thing I always say is like, if it is an unfair advantage to your business for you to be more visible, and if you have the aptitude and appetite, it's a shame not to figure out how to be more online, more visible, whatever the right channels are. And so, but that's not the case for everyone or every business. And so it's great to have a few cautionary tales so people take a moment to think, like, do I need to be Cluely? The answer is probably no.
Yeah, I like your Ashley as a service. It's like, is this a banger.com?
Too bad that's pronounced ass. Okay, guys, we have 2 questions from one of our listeners. We'll see if we can get through both. The first is, I'm working on becoming an accredited investor within the next year or 2. My goal is to start angel investing and break into VC. Recently, 2 emerging manager friends who I admire greatly asked me to be LPs in their fund. I was flattered, but it made me start thinking, is that a good way to get my start in investing? I think Ashley mentioned that's how she started. Quick fact check, it's not. I started with angel investing directly, but I think I have said that I wish I'd also made a few LP investments earlier, because it just gives you a better sense of like how other people approach it, more of an ecosystem view. But Helen, I mean, you did this. What do you think?
Yeah, fund investing, I think, is a good way to get a ton of information. I would then, ask the fund that you're investing in, how they communicate with their LPs. What should I expect? Do you send quarterly letters? Can I see a sample of one you've sent in the past, and how much detail? What happens if I want to learn more about a particular company? So I think what's great about emerging managers is that they're very built in public, right? They're sharing a lot. They're sharing their observations. I think one of my first fund investments that I've done, I did it for very much that reason. It was a very young GP, and I just wanted to see what she was seeing and hearing sort of in her universe. And she writes these extraordinary, like, detailed LP updates, and I read every word. And I think that is awesome. That's an awesome experience. And you're getting a look inside the entire portfolio of, I think a lot of these merged managers have like 25 plus companies, right?
Yeah.
When you think about their average check size. And so I think that's still a great way. I think, Ashley, you gave great advice, which was if you're going to get into angel investing, budget and allocate time, like the pacing, so that you can do about 10, so that you can have the power law sort of kick in, right? And the thing that I always think back to is like when I started ramping up my angel investing, I was working at AngelList, and Naval was like, go slow. And I was like, wait, you're like the angel investing guy and you're telling me to go slow. And he's like, yeah. And startups are so random. Don't add your own chaos to the system, right? Which means like, don't sometimes be like, ooh, I have high conviction. Okay, 50K check. Ooh, low conviction, but still want to do the investment, 10K check. It's like, you have no idea what you're doing. So just like
Yeah.
pace and keep consistent the things that you can control, which is like pacing, your own process of getting to yes, check size, maybe a sector or something like that.
Yeah. I think he's totally right about check size and
looking back, 1000% he's right. Even at the time I was like, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I will say for our listener is being a good picker of funds does not really count towards your track record. So if you are trying to build an angel track record to get into venture, really make those selections in terms of fund investments based on emerging managers you want to learn from or maybe co-invest with, because it's going to be your direct investments that help you get a VC job or raise a fund someday. Okay, one more question if we have a little time. I'm working on making a pivot into VC. Everyone come on in. And since I have years of operational experience in startups, I'm applying for senior VC adjusted roles like VC partnerships or chief of staff instead of junior VC like associate or analyst roles. I know you've said platform is not a great path into investing, but I'm curious about your thoughts on these two. I'm also working on becoming an accredited investor so I can angel invest on the side. Thank you so much, as always. Well, thank you to this person for listening and paying attention. Any thoughts on partnerships? I actually don't know what VC partnerships might mean. But actually, I have thoughts on chief of staff. I think if you can be a chief of staff to someone you think is an excellent investor, that is a great training ground. Like if you can see someone up close. I mean, this is an apprenticeship industry,
right.
And neither Helen nor I took that path, and sometimes I feel those gaps. And chief of staff gives you sort of a different way into apprenticing.
Yeah, I agree what you said about the apprenticeship model. I actually don't think of chief of staff as a platform role. So I think chief of staff is great because you get that direct access and, sort of like insight into what incredible investors are doing and what they're thinking about and how they spend their time. I continue to feel very strongly that platform is a dead end if you want to be an investor eventually. And, there's going to be exceptions to that. And maybe you are the exception. Fine. But truly, it is like a different team. And even though you share the same email address and you go to the same holiday party every year, it is very different. And if your goal is to be an investor or have an investment role in the future, trust me, as a marketer, like that seems like such a logical path. But it was very intentional to never take one of those offers because of people before me who had given me basically this exact advice, which was like, you will be seen as a platform person, and that jump is just really hard. That's not to say that there are not happy platform people out there and that they're not great jobs. In fact, they're very high paying, they're prestigious.
They're probably not 996.
They're important, like especially now, when I think every firm is trying to figure out how to brand themselves and what their story is. Of course, yes. But I'm trying to look at the part where it said like, I want to eventually have an investing role. Yeah.
Yeah. As someone who's done one of those roles, so I was marketing partner at Social Capital for 3 years, I will say if you don't know you want to be an investor, but you want to understand how venture works.
Oh yeah.
I certainly did not go to Social Capital thinking I'm going to use this role as a way to join the investing team. And if I had, I think that would have been a very challenging path. But it was a great way to see up close how venture firms operate and to get a feel for the cadence and the pacing and having one of those platform roles you kind of get to have your cake and eat it too, and that you keep a foot in operating. You get feedback loops while you watch your colleagues do like 1,000 meetings a year and make 2 decisions and wait 10 years to see how they go. I felt very smug with my feedback loops when I was at Social Capital. Joke's on me. Now I'm here. But yeah, it can be a great way to like get a feel for how this part of the ecosystem works beyond, all of the Twitter buzz. So, but yeah, if you want to go into venture on the investing side, it would have to be a true exception for it to be the right path.
I'm just excited to see that people still want to join venture despite everything that's been happening. So I take this as a positive signal. It makes me very happy.
All right, guys. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to Great Chat. Have questions for us? Make sure to submit them at anothergreatchat.com. See you next week.